everybody? The Lawn Gnome is here, and from a scale of 1 to 10, I have no idea how I'm going to be able to rate my excitement for the 10th episode of Versus. I cannot believe that on my channel has lasted for so long, and after such a powerful year with a whole bunch of great topics for discussion, and more importantly, a great bunch of guests, I am ready for another full-on season of Versus in 2019 with a whole bunch of new topics to discuss. But today, with a very special number of 10, because it is the 10th episode, I wanted to do something extra awesome, especially considering the fact that this year especially, in the film world, we have been in superhero mode. So many amazing superhero movies, and I thought that it would only be appropriate to celebrate superheroes and Disney magic, because it has also been a massive year for Disney, officially acquiring the rights to almost every single Marvel property because they just acquired Fox. So I'm excited for more superhero excitement in the coming years, but today we're going to be talking about two massive staples in Disney. We're going to be talking about the Disney Pixar film The Incredibles from 2004, and of course we're going to talk about the canon classic Big Hero 6. So before we actually start talking about them, I want to introduce the panelists that will be joining me today. So first, let's talk to the person who is going to be talking about and defending The Incredibles.
What's up, guys? My name is Zach. I'm here. I'm going to be defending The Incredibles because it is one of the best films ever made, and I'm all ready to do this. So thank you so much for having me on here, man. I'm so happy and just really ready to discuss this, and I'm sorry, Elimarie. I'm going to beat you.
All right, Dem's fighting words. What can I say? And I'm so happy to have another guy on the show. It's been a while, and I promised everybody in the last Sunday sit down that there were going to be more guys joining me. But let's also talk about the person who's going to be joining us and talking about Big Hero 6, because I think there is going to be a fight to be had today.
Hey everyone, I'm Elimarie from Elimarie Production. Thank you for having me here because I'm so excited because I love Disney. Disney's like my life. And I love Big Hero 6. And honestly, this is going to be an interesting discussion. That's all I got to say.
And this is even more exciting because we've got Disney East Coast versus Disney West Coast. We've got someone who has
West Coast.
And we even have, and I also know that Elimarie actually worked for Disney for a little while. So It's definitely going to be an exciting battle. So, of course, before we get into actual discussions, I, of course, really want to ask the both of you to talk about your first introductions with Disney as a whole, and then I want you each to discuss, your first impressions when you first found the films that you will be defending. But another little twist that I want to throw in here, of course, we're going to start with Zach. Zach, I want to know the very first Disney film you ever saw in theaters, if you can remember.
So this is actually the first film I even saw in general in theaters. It was funny. Me and my mom and dad were actually talking about this, of what film they took me first to, and it was Toy Story 2. That was the first film I ever saw in theaters growing up, and I used to have a little. I broke 5 VHSs when I was younger of the original Toy Story because I would constantly just replay it all day. So that's like my first introduction to Disney. We used to live in California. We'd go to Disneyland all the time. So it's all that type of stuff. And it's just a bunch of fun things. So that's where my love for Disney comes. And it's still there with me.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. And what were your first impressions when you saw The Incredibles for the first time?
So I remember when I first saw it, I thought it was just a blast. I remember my dad actually took me and my friend out of school to go see this thing because everyone else was getting to leave school early. So I wanted to leave school early. So I bothered him for probably 4 weeks to take me out of school early so I can go see this. Because my dad doesn't like going to the movies. He's kind of like, oh yeah, I'll catch it when it's on DVD. I'm like, no, I want to see this in the theater. So I convinced him somehow to take me and my friend. I remember for some reason we were the only ones in the theater. And it was awesome because we sat there, we sat down, we watched the film. And I remember I left and I was like, oh yeah, that was a blast. But nothing, the film hit me more as I grew up, to be honest.
That would make so much sense, especially considering the director that Brad Bird is. He seems to know how to make a film that is very family friendly, but also manages to give a lot of true adult appeal, which is fantastic. I mean, look, The Iron Giant, as far as I'm concerned, is still going to be, in my opinion, his greatest film. It's a
That was
brilliant
another one of those
piece of
films I
work.
saw in theaters for the first
Yeah,
time.
brilliant piece of work. But anyway, Elimarie, how about you? What was the very first Disney film that you ever saw in theaters?
I honestly, I don't remember, but I have a feeling it's probably Toy Story 2 as well, because I know my brother was like a
Yeah.
huge fan of Toy Story. So probably that. But honestly, if it comes to like, I don't remember. I don't remember. I just remember just having all of the VHSs and and whatnot, and just watching all of them. So yeah.
And what about your very first impressions of Big Hero 6?
Color, absolute color, and a world that I want to live in. I was like, I want to live there. Why hasn't a city like that been invented yet? And I need to live there.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, that year for the Academy Awards, I think it was up against some real tough competition in regards to all the other films that it was going alongside. I think there was a really great Pixar film with that one, as well as I can't remember if Frankenweenie was nominated that exact same year, but I just remember that year being a solid year for animation. And when I saw that Big Hero 6 would in fact win the Academy Award for Best Picture, which is also very interesting considering the fact that both The Incredibles and Big Hero 6 are Best Animated Feature winners. So this is another big reason why to pit these two together.
But one's better than the other, and we all know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there can be only one.
Better than the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
By the way, that year it was How to Train Your Dragon 2, Box Trolls, Song of the Sea, and Tale of Princess Kaguya.
Oh,
How to Train Your Dragon 2. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that didn't win. I'm just
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
to be honest, I'm not like a huge fan of the How to Train Your Dragons, but I'm just surprised that didn't win.
Yeah, I honestly had to agree with you considering the fact that that was actually one of my top 5 films of the year, and I still remember crying during that movie because of certain events that took place in there. But I'm just so excited for How to Train Your Dragon 3 next year. But for me,
that's gonna be great.
I was a child in a time when the Disney Canon classics were being released in theaters on big screens rather than just going straight to DVD or Blu-ray. So the very first movie that I ever saw in theaters was 101 Dalmatians.
Oh my God,
that
really?
is still one of my favorite Disney classics today. And I actually am so happy to say that I have seen every Pixar film on the big screen. I have yet to snap the streak. Even if I go by myself or if I go with people, I am going to say I cannot snap this streak. These are films that I have to see on the big screen, good, bad, or indifferent, no matter how good or how possibly terrible they might be. But I have to.
I'm with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into the battle, shall we? Because I think we have a great deal to talk about, and I don't want to go over 2 hours. So what we're going to do is I'm basically going to give the topic, and whoever is able to jump in first, just jump in. And this is going to be a debate. Please do not wait for me to say, what do you think? What do you think? Just
Are there time limits? Real fast, is there time limits to each thing?
There is no time limits in regards to what we're talking about. I'm just going to be keeping an eye on the clock, making sure that we don't go out of the time frame, which is 2 hours, and make sure that this does not turn into Lawrence of Arabia, because after 2 hours, the attention spans of our fans are going to start being lost, and we're just sort of basically going to be talking to ourselves. But there's nothing wrong with that either. But it's my job to keep my mouth shut during the time that we're talking about these topics and let you guys do all the talking. So the first series of topics that we're going to do for round 1 is overall atmosphere. And I have to say I had to dig very deep because I wanted to make sure that we had fair battles here. And I think I've come up with some really good ideas. And in regards to atmosphere, there's definitely very distinct differences between both of these films. with The Incredibles, we get a true retro golden age / silver age comic book feel, and with Big Hero 6, we get a true modern feel. And my question, based on these two atmospheres, is which one does in fact have the edge? So I'm going to start with Zach, merely because of the fact that The Incredibles is the first film of the two. So let's start with the concept of retro, and we'll go forward in time, so to speak.
So yeah, like retro for The Incredibles. I mean, the thing about retroness in The Incredibles is it's a cool, like, kind of period piece in a sense, if you really think about it, because as much as we can relate to kind of like our society today, but that retro feels kind of special to The Incredibles. It has that artistic style, and you even see how it dives into the second film, especially. I mean, we're talking about the first one, but I love how they just moved it over into the second film. But the first film just has that unique style where a lot of people nowadays are kind of like, well, I wish I was born more into like the olden days and like kind of like in there so I could relive those days, because no one really, I feel like when you talk to people nowadays, no one wants to live in the 20th century. Like no one wants to live in this 2018 kind of age with all the stuff we deal with, but everyone kind of wants to go back to that more retro age where it's no cell phones, no social media. It's just, if you want to ask a girl out, you go up and talk to her. You don't have to swipe right or swipe left. It's the whole retro feel in that whole aspect. And I just really appreciate that. And I think The Incredibles really emphasize that with the cars, with the landscape, with the buildings, with how they live with day to day. And that just goes the whole superhero feel, because it also feels like, if you look like nowadays, it's like, I'm not saying like this is realistic or true story, but it kind of makes you look back and be like, oh yeah, were superheroes a real thing? Like, is it just nowadays, like, we don't have them anymore because of this law that happened? And it gives you that perspective as well.
Okay, but I gotta say, San Francisco, who does not want to live in San Francisco? Okay, that is literally Japan and San Francisco. Like, you get the best of both worlds. And the architect and stuff, I mean, you have the traditional Japanese, but at the same time you have San Francisco. Like, you have the city, you have technology, you're pretty much in the future, but the future with, you know, kind of like the classics that we like from both cities. And on top of that, there's so much diversity in it. It's kind of like, man, I don't really want to say that it's kind of like Zootopia, but it's like this place for, like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it right now, because
I know how to. So it's a place for problems to happen at, because it's all technology and we rely
it's a place where problems can be solved, okay? Because there's a lot of technology and a lot of smart people. So yeah, there can be problems. Obviously, there's problems everywhere. But here, there is technology that can solve that, versus in The Incredibles, I mean, you're kind of stuck in the 60s in a way.
I mean, if you really think about it, they're stuck in the 60s, but they still got technology. I mean, Mr. Incredible has a car that can transform. If he has a car that can transform, then pretty much anything is possible now in The Incredibles
but
world.
People could literally fly. They have jetpacks. I mean, they have
and people can fly The Incredibles. You're just supposed to have no capes.
Okay, but in order to fly in The Incredibles, you need superpowers. Versus in San Francisco, you could literally just buy like a jetpack and you're good to go.
Everyone has a jetpack. That's not fun, because then people will be crashing into each other. Then you have to get licenses. Then you have to go into all that. And it sucks on that part, because then there's just more to be there. It's cool to see, like, when you're just flying in an airplane, you look out the side and you see like Superman flying. That's pretty cool. Like, I would love to do that.
Only a select few can fly while everyone else
but I mean,
take a car or a bus.
Well, think about it. That's the point of the first Incredibles. You have Syndrome, who wants to make everyone a super. And that's not the point, because if everyone was a super, there would be issues with that. It's cool. Yeah, no, I'm being serious though. San Francisco is pretty cool, but
Pretty cool.
So many
amazing.
Well, so is the whole retro.
Visually, it's aesthetic. Okay, there's so many colors, so many different things.
Like, literally, if I dropped acid and watched Big Hero 6, it'd probably be the best time of my life. It'd be like Doctor Strange mixed with a bunch of other things. But that's the thing. I like Big Hero 6. I like the San Francisco. It's cool. But if you're just looking from a retro to modern, no one really likes modern nowadays. And I mean, this is kind of more into the future and stuff. Yeah, there's probably more stuff for medical stuff. You probably can cure cancer in this film for all we know. But the thing is, there's too many issues that can happen. There's too much technology. We don't want to rely on technology anymore. And in the retro feel, it's just you're kind of on your own. You want to live your life. You
Let's go
can
back
kind
in
of feel
time and have like TVs without remotes, so we could just.
But
like,
everyone wants to
change
go
the
back in time.
channels.
Dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, go to
totally.
the retro feels.
I'm so sure
food.
everybody wants to go back in time and live in a house that like resembles their grandparents' house or something.
Yeah,
I'm totally
who
sure.
doesn't? Who
Instead
doesn't
of
want
living
that?
in like this crazy complex and stuff where you have this crazy view and you have like this technology that you could literally do anything with. I mean, yeah, totally.
Well, yeah, I'm sure like Tinder in the modern day age in Big Hero 6, instead of once you swipe right, you just meet up with them. Like it just teleports you there, that's kind of scary because like what if you go and it's all catfish like that? You don't get a reaction to. You don't have anything like that. The retro feel, at least you have to go meet someone. You have to personally walk up to them, introduce yourself.
And you can't do that in San Francisco?
No, probably not, because everyone's gonna be looking down instead of looking up because everything's on their damn phone. Or
maybe I should just leave the room and let you guys go at this because this is unreal. My mind is officially blown. I'm like, oh my god, what did I do here? This is crazy.
You created a war right now.
You pitted two Disney fans against each other.
I
absolutely love it. I mean, look, my attitude is as long as you don't see bags of feces and syringe needles all over San Francisco, I think was good because they're really taking because we all know what's going on in the real San Francisco right now.
Well, how do you know this isn't in San Francisco? They were just showing the nice parts. I mean, the whole movie moves pretty fast. I mean, when they're driving up and down the streets going super fast, there's no point to stop and look down the alleyway and see all the damn coke and meth down the street.
Well, then again,
let's be honest here. Fredzilla, whatever the hell that guy's name is, how do we know he's not high? Like, it's played by TJ Miller, #1. So that's another debate for a second time. But the other thing is that this dude, come on now.
Okay, I just gotta say, I'm gonna bring up the TV series right now. Okay, in the TV series, you actually see the different parts of San Francisco, and it really shows you like the lesser, nicer parts of the city. And even though they do say, oh yeah, there's crimes and whatever, but it's still not as bad as if it were to be, I don't know, in a retro era.
I mean, every time I watch The Incredibles, I mean, there's someone always there to save you. Your house is in San Francisco.
In San Francisco, your house is.
I could pop Baymax with a damn. I shoot him once with a gun, he's gonna pop.
But he has like a suit. He has an armor. So technically you can't.
Don't matter. I mean, let's put it this way. I could stalk Baymax home, and when he's just sitting in his house going, how can I assist you today? I could snipe him through the window, pop him, done, dead.
Okay,
done.
Well, yeah, okay, you do that, but guess what? Hero could literally make a brand new Baymax.
For killing him because he's cute. Wait, that's just the truth.
Hero could literally make a brand new Baymax, and he has done it before, and he could obviously do it again. He could do like 5 billion Baymax.
Then you know what? The second I shoot Baymax, he's gonna start crying. I'm gonna shoot him.
Well, you can't because like he has his own armor too.
But what if he don't have his armor on? He's gonna be sitting there. They're just gonna be chilling, watching. I don't know, The Incredibles, because it's a better film. They're going to be sitting there watching it, wishing, oh man, I wish I was in this retro feel. Shoot Baymax through the window. Shoot Hero. The other ones are going to pop up. They're going to be like, what's going on? They're not going to have their armor on. Boom, 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 bang. Modern day, done.
Well, the backup Baymax could actually help and cure Hero. So, I mean, because Hero, I'm pretty sure
there ain't no curing him with a bullet to the head.
Yeah, he's okay.
This took one turn to the worse.
I think that we've officially gone overboard with this one, so I think we're gonna leave it right here because way too many points made in regards to all this. So now I want to go over a very interesting plot point here. We have two very different styles of story in regards to the main focus in these films. When it comes to The Incredibles, we have the concept of gain. The fact that Mr. Incredible goes on and gets married and has a family, and now he's got, as Syndrome says, a whole family of supers. Whereas the origin story of Hero is the death of his brother. So let's
if you didn't cry at that part, you're just something wrong with you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like if you don't like the Muppets, you have no soul.
I don't like the Muppets.
Wow.
No, I'm joking. I like the Muppets.
No, that would have scared me, man. They on everything else that I know about you, Zach, you not liking the Muppets is a bold-faced lie. That's one thing that I know. But anyway,
I don't love them. I'll say that.
I think that I think that in regards to what they used to, okay, here we go. The way they used to be was much better than what they are now. I will definitely admit that. But anyway, let's start with Elimarie, and let's talk about the concept of loss in Big Hero 6 and how it drives the story.
All right, I just gotta say, I think in Big Hero 6, it's actually a loss and a gain, but I'm just gonna talk about the loss.
Okay.
So yeah, Tadashi died, and that was absolutely heartbreaking and stuff.
Yeah.
And what makes it even more heartbreaking is the fact that Callahan let it happen, and Callahan was like a father figure to Tadashi, and that's just like, and a role model to Hiro and whatever. And so Hiro has to really like pick up the pieces, and it shows, you know, he goes through like his depression phase, but out of that, he also gains a new family. Like technically he gains Baymax, obviously, which is like a reincarnated version of Tadashi, I guess. And then you have the Big Hero 6 gang, which they really take Hiro in as his little brother. So in a way, that is also a gain. So through his loss, he learns that he has to be, you know, more responsible. He wants revenge, and he's, you know, he's using his like his building of robots and stuff instead of doing hobbies and stuff. And now he's like actually doing something other than hobby stuff. But anyway, but basically, I think it's more of a loss and a gain. So
that's a good way to look at it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
No, that is a good way, and I'll admit that. I'll go with that side. I'll say that's a pretty cool dealing. But the thing with like the Incredibles is, you know, he, like Mr. Incredible himself, like he is growing his family. Like this man, like you see in the beginning of the film how he was solo. And then he has a wife. He gets married to Elastigirl, Holly Hunter. Who wouldn't want to get married to her? I mean, seriously. And then you move on. You see that he grows his family. He gets Jack, Violet, Dash, and even though the kids are annoying, you still like get fruition that how much he loves them and how much he cares for them. How much, like, even though at the same time like he's feeling like a loss of his own life, like that, like stuff's just going away. He's just working like a dead end job, and he wants to be a superhero again. The whole point of that film, in a sense, like there's a whole underlying meaning of just not like a adult themes and stuff like that, or like a coming of age type thing for, it's not coming of age, but like a midlife crisis coming of thing for Mr. Incredible. The big thing that he finally realizes at the end is that even if he's not a super in real life, he can still be a superhero to his family. And that's something like, I'm not even going to diss Big Hero 6 because the death of the family member is, you did make a good point. It is a loss and a gain. But The Incredibles also fits both those realms. And that's kind of where it's hard to argue a Disney film, because most Disney films have both a loss and a gain for each and every one of their moral of the stories.
That's
and
true.
Each of them fit
That's
very
very
hard.
true.
Each of them fit very much like this. And I mean, there are some Disney films that don't deal with these heavier themes, but I feel like these kind of newer ones, like we're not going to talk about that Home on the Range one. We all know about that.
No!
That's
I don't know what. If I wasn't a freaking Canon Classics completionist, I would never have subjected myself to that. Oh God, I'm going to offend so many people. Like I haven't offended so many people already. I will never have subjected myself to that abortion of a film. What a mistake! What a mistake!
It's bad, but that's what I'm saying is that I feel like The Incredibles and Big Hero 6 both touch on loss and gain.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, like all the other Disney movies, they really do go around that as well. So, and I think actually any superhero movie, really, there's a loss and then there's a gain. I mean, you look at any superhero, and
like, and that's what's special about both these films. I mean, Big Hero 6 has those both things where it's a death of a family member and also the growing of the family, of how Hiro learns that he's not alone in the situation, that everyone kind of deals with their own things. And his relation with Baymax does tell that. I mean, I can't even like argue against that. And same with things with The Incredibles. The Incredibles it's kind of a reverse on that. You know, the guy gains a family, he grows a family in a sense.
But he has to sacrifice like what he wants for them. So in a way, it's a lot. Yeah.
But at the end of the story, he finally learns that like, hey, like I can be a superhero to them, even if I can't be one in real life. And that's I think that one of the best subjects of The Incredibles. And that's why like both these films are very, I would go say to probably The Incredibles is still more strived towards like adults, and Big Hero 6 is more strived towards kids. But I mean, you could really make an argument for that both of them can be for adults and kids, because they both are. But I just feel like The Incredibles is still hits harder for that, but Big Hero 6 is like if your parents take you, if a parent takes their kid to see the film, they're not going to be like, oh, that was
Yeah,
boring.
midlife crisis. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, it relates more to kids, and I think that's what's really strong about that film.
Well, let's elaborate a little bit more on this because this is going to conclude the first round. Let's discuss a little bit more about how the family of Mr. Incredible, because you started with it, but I want to see if we could expand upon it a little more. Let's talk a little bit more about the concept of the family and creating a legacy next to a true coming of age story, which is pretty much what Big Hero 6 is all about. Zach, let's start with you.
So the family v coming of age, the difference between those two things, and why I feel like the family aspects is, we see so many coming of age stories, and I think that's something that we see it in almost every single type of film. There's always a coming of age hero. There's always a coming of age story, which I mean, you can make that for The Incredibles, but The Incredibles is more of a family-centric thing, a story about family, adult. It has those adult themes. It deals with like not just marriage in particular, but like just having your own family to deal with, and like you see how like Mr. Incredible is struggling with bills. What superhero film and a child's film deal with like your job, like an actual job, and having to maintain that job? Like you don't see that regularly, and that's where like I think like in a sense like it's a lot of that's Brad Bird, because Brad Bird he states that The Incredibles is not a kid's film. It's a kid-friendly film, but this is a film made for adults. And that's probably one of the biggest parts about The Incredibles is that growing up, like I don't have a family yet. Well, like I have a family, but I haven't had my own family yet with someone. And I feel like my dad probably relates the most to The Incredibles because he's seen both these films. And like when I've like watched the films with him, like he's definitely enjoyed The Incredibles more than Big Hero 6 due to the fact that he relates more to Mr. Incredible because he kind of feels like he's Mr. Incredible. And that's something that I really like about The Incredibles is each and every person in the family, their powers kind of relate to what in real life they would be. So Mr. Incredibles, he's the dad. He's supposed to be the strong, buff man. The mom, she's being pulled everywhere. She's the Elastigirl. She's being pulled here, pulled there. And that's what it's feeling. She's being stretched everywhere. Violet, she's shy. She's going through that teenage phase where she doesn't want to be seen, but she kind of wants to be. Dash, she's hyper energetic. He's going everywhere. It doesn't really matter. And then Jack is unpredictable.
Because he's still discovering himself. He doesn't.
That's a good point.
It's like when a baby learns how to walk and talk for the first time. When they first discover, like I have 3 nieces, and my youngest niece, who's just is 1.5. She about a month ago, she just started learning how. She's walking a lot now, but when she turned 1, she was just starting to walk, and like she discovers that she has these legs and I can use them to run all over the house. And you're absolutely right. It's unpredictability. And that's exactly Jack. Jack is a great epitome of an infant.
Oh, yeah. Except most infants nowadays don't have laser shooting out of their eyes or turning into a death monster that wants a fucking cookie.
Well, you see, I have parents of said niece that could think otherwise. Just to let you know that.
I'm sure if you threw Jack their way, they'd be like, give me back my kid.
Well, actually, I think if you're in an airplane with a crying baby, I think you would think that baby is a monster. I don't care what kind of.
I mean, when I work in retail and when a baby comes in and starts crying, I just want to scream.
Yeah, I think that's the way that we all feel until someone actually says to me, "Oh, wait till you have your own. It's not going to matter anymore." Well, anyway, Elimarie, let's get to you in regards to coming of age because we want to tackle this area on your end as well.
All right, so Hero is a typical 14-year-old boy. You know, he's living his life. His life is good. You know, he doesn't have his parents, so obviously, he and his brother are living with their aunt and stuff. But basically, his life is pretty good until obviously Tadashi dies, and that really like turns his world upside down. And now he wants revenge. You know, he wants to, because I mean, imagine for a 14-year-old and then seeing your brother go in to a building and then the building explodes and it's like, what do? You know? And I think any other 14, what?
You cry.
Well,
that's what you
obviously. And then like Hero goes through like this whole depression phase and stuff. but like if you think about it, any other 14-year-olds probably could have done whatever, like different things. But instead, you know, Hero discovers Baymax, and then, you know, he decides to seek out revenge. And then in the meantime, he meets like all these people and stuff, and then he learns in the end, you know, revenge isn't the way to go and whatever. And I think Hero is very mature for his age, so, and very smart too. But yeah, but also not only do I think this is a coming of age movie, I also believe it's also a family movie, because even though it's not like blood related family, again, it's, you know, he meets the Big Hero 6 gang. He has Baymax. He has his aunt. But, you know, the Big Hero 6 gang, I mean, it's not Baymax. I don't think Baymax is the perfect robot that Hero would have wanted, because sometimes Baymax does things that frustrates Hero. Like Hero's probably like, why can't you just do this? Whatever. But because Baymax is like Tadashi. So you can't really pick and choose. I mean, I'm sure he could program him to be however he wants, but I mean, he can't pick and choose. Same for, you know, the Big Hero 6 gang. You know, yes, he chooses to like be with them, but he doesn't choose how they are or whatever. But despite all of their differences, you know, they do come together, and, you know, kind of like in The Incredibles, even though they're all different and stuff, they come together to, you know, for the greater good. And, you know, so yeah. So I think it's both a coming of age and a family thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of like, that's the thing with like, there's kind of like, that's again, the great thing about both these Disney films is they both have both those kind of feels, except mine's more of like not a coming of age, but more of like a midlife crisis coming of thing. I guess if that's a type of certain story, I don't know exactly what it'd be called, but again, that's what's so great about Disney is that when they do films like these, they let the directors and the writers kind of take their own risks. They don't, they're not like a normal studio, where I feel like these films would never particularly happen at Fox or Sony. Like that's why this new Spider-Man animated feature coming out this year, I'm so excited for it, but I really doubt Sony took any big risks with it. You know, like that's where I'm kind of like with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't mention Warner Brothers, because if you want to talk studio interference, you can't get more studio interference than Warner Brothers. Unless,
what do you mean? Justice League was a masterpiece.
It could have been. I love it. I love the film so much, but I have so many issues with Warner Brothers. I really do. I really do. Especially with what they did to Batman v Superman, until you got that rated R version that we all should have seen in theaters. But anyway, that wraps up round one, and wow. I that's the only word I can say to describe this.
I think the beginning part was pretty crazy, and I think now we kind of like just mellowed out a little bit.
Yeah, the coffee worn out.
Yeah.
The coffee wore out.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was very tough for me to figure out, because you both, I think that you guys gave me two of the best arguments that I have ever seen for all three of these topics. But based on one little thing, because that Zach said on the last section, Zach gets round one, merely because of something that he said that I never thought of in my entire life, and he literally just blew my mind with that whole statement about the superpowers and how they actually. That was gold, man. I never thought of that in my life.
I didn't think about that either, but dang it.
How did I not see
so
that?
If you want me to be honest, I have to give a shout out to Brad Bird, because I watched an interview with him, and that's what he came up with. And if you watch the director's commentary, for the first Incredibles, he talks about it.
Listen, you're allowed to use all the research sources that you're allowed to use. I mean, look, Elimarie, you gave me a fantastic fight. You really did. But because of that one little thing, I had to give it to Zach.
That's true. I gotta get. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about it either. I didn't think about that at all.
Hey, but you know what? Like that, the retro versus modern. I'm gonna be honest. I probably would have given it to you. Like, San Francisco's cool. San Francisco's cool.
Okay, can we start a petition for Disney to just do a San Francisco park, please?
Dude,
that's all I ask.
Epcot would be perfect for that. You're already redoing all of Epcot. Just throw it in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's like where Test Track is. I think that would be like a really cool area to make.
Honestly, they're sticking Guardians of the Galaxy there, but I don't really know how that. I don't know how that's gonna really tie in with everything. I mean, versus a San Francisco, then it's like, it's like a city.
I think you could also. I don't know. We should all just work at Disneyland, like as the Imagineers.
I just went down there in February, and when I heard about, because again, I'm just going to throw this out because we're actually on break right now and we didn't get any questions, so we can chat a little bit. After being in Epcot, I have to say that Epcot is truly the place to be for the adults. I think there's so much more in Epcot for adults to enjoy, but it's also great for kids because there's so much to learn. And one of the few things that I'm very nervous about is when they're adding things like a Guardians of the Galaxy coaster and a couple of additional things. Like, I think that the San Francisco side of the park would be absolutely brilliant, but at the same time, I really feel that they shouldn't get rid of the learning experience that you gain from going to Epcot.
Yeah, unless they use that as like to showcase the latest technology and things like that, then yeah. But also, one thing that kind of frustrates me is, I don't know if you noticed, but in the Norway Pavilion, it's all about Frozen now. Which before it was all about, Norway and the history.
I went the day that that old ride got closed. That was the last time I went to Epcot. So I haven't gone on the Frozen one. I've seen videos of it. It looks amazing. It looks beautiful.
It is. It is.
When I went to Epcot in 1990, I had a great time. There were like so many of the buildings that used to be there. Like, I loved Wonders of Life and the Body Wars ride. I loved Journey Through Motion. I remembered the land being such an enjoyable thing. And the thing when I was and this year I barely even touched any of that part of the park because as a kid my parents never took me to the pavilions. And I loved the pavilions. They were fantastic. And I feel that these are the things that really make Epcot Center what they are, and I'm just hoping that if they get, I just hope that they keep that as well as adding on to it, because I cannot imagine Epcot Center without Spaceship Earth. I love Spaceship Earth.
Oh yeah, they're gonna.
Oh man, that ride.
They're gonna keep that obviously. Like, that's gonna be forever there.
Yeah, no. See, I wasn't 21 yet when I went to Epcot, so I didn't like really enjoy it. Like, I liked it; it was cool. Like I got fat there though, because all the desserts and food is horrible.
Did you go
know
to
what
the
they
Food
need?
and Wine Festival?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. The best time to go.
I went during the Arts Festival.
They need to. I hate for them to do this, but I kind of want them to, and I feel like they're going to. They're going to change the Mexican Pavilion all to Coco.
I actually think that's going to happen because they really should keep the Three Caballeros. They really should.
I think what they're going to do. They're going to end up doing it. I think that's what because they're making the Ratatouille ride. There's rumor that there's a Mary Poppins ride coming to the UK.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're just placing their intellectual properties all throughout everything.
Yeah, the Festival of the Arts was absolutely fantastic, and it was the last day when my wife and I actually went. And one of the best parts about the Japanese pavilion was my personal favorite because there was a whole kawaii exhibit, which I thought was fantastic. I loved that so much. And holy cow, the gift shop was filled to the brim with all the best things that anime has to offer. It was a Pokemon section, a Dragon Ball Z section, a whole Studio Ghibli section. I'm like, what?
And then they have like a whole section for like candies and sweets and everything. Yeah. And that's what I love about it, because like they really like try to immerse you in the culture. So like you try their version of this, their version of that, this and that, And like I love it.
Some of the best gelato that I ever had was at the Italian Pavilion. Absolutely.
Yes.
But one of the few things that my wife and we were very, very smart. We actually pounded on the calories during breakfast. Like, we had a breakfast at our hotel, so we would ingest like 700 to 900 calories for breakfast.
That's good.
We would not eat anything except for maybe water and one snack during the entire day at the park. So we would burn everything off while we're at the park because we did so much walking.
Yeah, and you have the energy.
Yeah, and we had and we just had our dinner when we got home. But anyway, let's get back to the battle, even though this was a fantastic discussion. Maybe one day we'll all discuss Disney World again. Maybe not.
Oh my gosh, yes. I got a lot to talk about. Disney World and Disneyland, because I went to Disneyland too.
Yeah.
So
I need to get back to Disney World at some point in time, very, very soon, especially with all the new parks that they've been announcing. So now let's get into something exciting. Let's get into some talks about some characters. Ooh. And we're going to break this up into three, because 3 is the best way to handle a battle, 3 rounds, like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and all that wonderful stuff. Let's start off with Elimarie, since Zach started the first round. Let's start round 2 with the protagonist.
Yeah, so like I said before, Hiro is a 14-year-old genius, basically. And, throughout the movie, he learns that revenge isn't the way to go. But honestly, I think Hiro is such a cool character because he's Japanese American, right? And he's a brain, you know, and the fact that he gets well with, like, you know, the Big Hero 6 gang. I keep saying that, the Big Hero 6 gang. But anyway, but the team, basically, even though they're older than him and stuff, but he gets along with them so well. He has a great relationship with his aunt. You know, he does have a lot to learn, but again, he's 14, but I think he learns really quickly throughout the movie and stuff. And I just think he's a great character. So
I mean, but you really got to look at Mr. Incredible. The guy has to deal with his whole family.
Mr. Incredible.
Now, this is where I'm going to get a little, I'm going to argue this. I don't think Hiro is that compelling of a character. I think his journey and his story is more compelling, but I don't think the character itself is as compelling. Baymax, cute as hell. Honestly, if I had my own Baymax, I wouldn't even live. Like, I would just walk around with him and just provide medical stuff for everyone, because I just think it'd be cool. He's cute, he's funny, but Hiro himself, while adorable and while a good coming of age story for him, I feel like his story is better than the character given to it. I feel like, and yes, I will admit that the series opens up more for the character, but this is kind of going on to the next thing where we kind of, so in the next discussion, so I'll get to that in a second when we talk about what's better, a film or multiple seasons. But for me, I just feel like Mr. Incredible has a more structured character arc throughout this whole film. We see where he is in the beginning at his highest, his lowest, and then where he's trying to get back into the next realm of it, dealing with his family, dealing with all this. And I mean, it's hard. Hiro still has a nice layout. I just always feel like Mr. Incredible is more relatable. And maybe that's just for me, because that's the different things about Disney films, is that each person has their own character that they more relate to. And if I'm looking at Hiro and Mr. Incredible, I find myself more relating to Mr. Incredible than I do Hiro. But that can be different for every single person. So if someone comes on and they're like, oh, Hiro, like I relate to him, totally understand that. I just feel like in the end of the day, when it comes down to the story, you do get that same Lois aspect with Hiro, where he gets the loss of the family, he gets the gain of the family, and he continues from there. But I just feel like Mr. Incredible himself has the strongest through line throughout the whole film.
Okay, but you got to keep in mind, Mr. Incredible has been a superhero for how long before the movie? He knows how to fight villains. He knows how to deal with all this stuff. You know, the only difference is that now
he doesn't know how to deal with the family.
But now he has a family, yes. But with Hiro, not only does he have to deal with, you know, becoming a superhero, fighting the evil villain, you know, creating this new technology and stuff to help him out and all that stuff, but, you know, as well as like dealing with like the emotional thing that comes with it. And this is, mind you, this is like his first time actually being a superhero, basically, versus Mr. Incredible. Yeah, he has to deal with his family, but basically, you know, he's fought villains before, he's done this before. The only difference is that, yeah, he has his family, which technically they're back at home for like most of the movie, you know, versus Hiro, he's doing all this is like his first time, you know, his first time doing all this stuff, his first time being an actual, trying to be a hero, but at the same time, you know, he's trying to be a hero, obviously for good reasons, but, you know.
All right, so I'm gonna mousetrap you right there.
Oh,
the thing about Mr. Incredible is, yes, he's been superheroes for however long. The guy's had strength since he was probably came out of his mom's womb. He was probably able to pick his mom up the second he came out. The thing about Mr. Incredible, though, is we see him at his high when he's this big, glorious hero. Then he gets sued. He screws all the supes out of it, and they all have to go underground. He goes into retirement as a superhero, and they don't exactly say how many years it's been, but we're to assume it's at least 14 years since he's been a superhero. So the guy has to come out of retirement, regain his strength. You see him working out the train tracks. You see that. And yeah, he's always had his strength, but he has to gain back that. And we see this when he's fighting the giant mechanical robot for the first time. The dude hurts his back. And it's one of the best comedic moments, because we see him literally, his back hurting and aching because he's not in shape. He's not back to his old youthful self again. And that's something that he has to kind of tinker with. He has to tinker with it a bit, just like how Hiro has to tinker with becoming a hero. Mr. Incredible has to tinker with not just dealing with his family, but also going back to trying being a hero. When he's already been a hero back at home, he's trying to be the hero again to everyone else with this robot, dealing with it. And we see this throughout by the end of the film, that he's just getting used to it. He's getting back into the groove of it. And I will admit, the first Incredibles, if they probably would have centered on that aspect like 5 more minutes, I think it probably would have made for a better fruition. But I still think that whole aspect was, he's coming out of it. He has to go back to it, because we've all done that thing where we'll do something and then maybe we stop doing it for a little bit and then we want to join back into it. So we have to kind of piece our way back in. It's like if we go to the gym, you can't just go and throw 400 pounds on a bench and try and bench press it, because it's going to fall on you and kill you. But if you go slowly, you start building back up. And we see that Mr. Incredible. He tries to go super fast, and he doesn't do it super well. So he goes back, trains a bit, and now he's kicking ass and taking names.
Okay, but he's always had his strength. Regardless, he's always had it, all right?
And Hero's always been smart. Hero's always been smart.
Okay, and then to argue on that point, then Hero also went in his depression phase thing. He couldn't invent anything. He couldn't make up anything, and he was just going blank, right? You know? So not only that, but okay, how Mr. Incredible has to get back to, you know, being strong again, which is something that he's always had. Yeah, Hero has his smarts, but he has to constantly be figuring out how to fix things, how to constantly make it better, how to, for example, Baymax's armor. You know, he has to learn from trial and error, what works, what doesn't, and he has to constantly.
I mean, a lot of it was kind of like, it's kind of like if you ever played with that toy set when you were little that had like the circle, the square, and the triangle, and you were just trying to place the things back in. I mean, it's kind of how it was with Baymax. You make the armor, and you just have to kind of fit it into the right place, or else it just pops off and goes. But
yeah, but also
the thing about Hero didn't have like the best villain to go up against. I mean, mine kind of did. He had a tougher villain to go, and that's kind of like where I'm kind of trying to segue this.
What?
Because I know the Lone Gnome here is trying to do this. The next topic, I don't know if you want to introduce it already.
Oh,
but,
we have to if we're gonna, unless there's nothing left to say.
All right, let's go. Let's go then.
Let's go.
That's where I'm segueing it into it. Big Hero 6, the big issue with that damn film is the damn villain. It's cliche, it's dumb, it's boring. I'm sorry. One of the worst villains in any Disney film. He's cool, his powers are cool. He's menacing with a face, but whatever. He is not Syndrome. Syndrome is hands down probably the best. I will say this. He is probably the best Disney villain ever. And I say this because it comes from a perspective where you see Billy Bob Bill, whatever the hell his name was before, when he's like, I'm Incrediboy, and then he goes and becomes Syndrome. You see the hate, the horrifyingness that goes through him.
It's literally a little boy that was bullied.
But you see that, and you see where the bulliness comes from. This old man becomes a villain in your film. The rejection, that's something that we all deal with. But the thing with this is your villain, what is his name? What's his name? What's his name? I don't even remember. It's some old man who's pissed at the world. Was bullied, and bullying is a horrible aspect.
Okay, wow. 1 second. First of all, I just want to say, Zach, you scared me half to death when you yelled, I'm Incrediboy, because that was as accurate to the voice of Jason Lee as I ever heard in my life.
Oh, sorry, I love My Name is Earl.
And Mallrats is one of my all-time favorite films. I love Jason Lee so much, which was one of the main reasons why I was so excited to see a character like Syndrome. But Elimarie, we want to get back to you, because just in case nobody realized, we segued into the second part of this round, which is the villain or the antagonist.
Okay, well, yeah, Syndrome faced rejection. Oh, poor boy. He was just a little boy and he was rejected. Boo-hoo. And now he just wants revenge on Mr. Incredible just because Mr. Incredible was like too busy to even deal with a fanboy.
He was revenge on the whole fucking world. Oh my God. Sorry for my mouth. Blurt me out whatever you need to do.
All right.
But I'm getting heated on this. I'm I'm sweating. I'm going to have to shower after this.
All right. Calm down. So,
guys,
Big Hero 6, the villain is Callahan. Now, what happened to Callahan? Yeah, he looks like a sweet old grandpa and he's like the mentor of Tadashi. But honestly, after he thought his daughter died, that guy became a beast. Literally, basically, his actions led to Tadashi to die. All right. And do you think he cares? No. In the movie, he literally didn't give a crap of whether Tadashi died, who Tadashi looked up to him like a father figure. And the fact that he was willing to kill all of the Big Hero 6 gang because he really doesn't care. And he has this remorse. So honestly, how could this guy be so good in the beginning. He had such a good heart. And then, you know, obviously he thinks his daughter dies, and then he goes through this whole phase of hatred and anger, and he just wants revenge on Cray, right? I believe that's his name. Yeah, Cray.
Alistair Cray.
Yeah. And, you know, because of the experiment, and he just wants revenge, and he really does not care who he has to kill in order to get, and he has no remorse.
Syndrome.
Okay, but
Syndrome was humiliated.
Syndrome has
Syndrome
a
was
petty
humiliated.
backstory. Hold up. Syndrome
Hold
has a
up.
Syndrome has a petty backstory. A little boy that got rejected from his idol. Blah. Okay, well, imagine if your idol was willing, your idol let you die. Because honestly, you would think that, oh my gosh, my idol loves me. But then turns out, oh, my idol just wants to kill me.
Incredible Boy. That like, this guy humiliated this kid. He put him, like, he treated him like crap. But we see where Syndrome is. His plan is way more structured, way better than Yoki,
but you
Black
can't,
Mask, whatever the guy is.
He can't compare.
Robots coming out of his suits. It just doesn't make sense.
But all
the
right,
guy,
listen.
Yes, he doesn't care who he kills. He doesn't care. I get his reasoning, but the movie doesn't portray it in a good manner. It's more of, you're portraying it better than the damn film ever did it. You should have made the film because you're doing it better than the film could have. That's something that I can say. Syndrome, I'm not doing the best justice. If Brad Bird was here, he would agree with me, because Syndrome just has this story where the guy, you get his perspective. You get why he wants to turn everyone into soups. And that's why I always feel like, because the thing about movies nowadays, if you have a protagonist and an antagonist, your film can only be as good as the protagonist and the antagonist of those films. And Yoki, for me, you have Hero. He's a cool hero, I guess.
But he's a reflection of Hero.
But he is a reflection, but so is Syndrome. So is Syndrome with Mr. Incredible. And Mr. Incredible, when he sees Syndrome, when he notices it's Incredible, he sees that, and it reflects his past, reflects him, and you can totally see that right then and there, his character arc changed, which goes back to the whole family thing, the whole lost and gain, the whole retro feel, and it goes even further into that with going more into just his character arc as a story and his protagonist.
Okay, but like I said, Syndrome's backstory, his reason why he wants to get at Mr. Incredible and all that stuff, that's not really that great. Honestly, that's kind of weak. I mean, I understand if Mr. Incredible, you know, killed his parents or something by accident, then I understand, kind of like, you know, people that hate Iron Man because Iron Man accidentally, you know, killed these people, whatever. Like, I totally get it. But the fact that Syndrome, it's just more of a pride thing that he has going on. It's like, versus Callahan, he lost his daughter. You know, he lost someone. Kind of like Hero. Hero lost Tadashi, so Hero wants revenge, and so does Callahan. But on this case, Callahan is willing to kill, which at one point, when Hero finds out that Callahan was the one that let Tadashi die basically, Hero wanted to kill Callahan, but if it wasn't for the Big Hero 6 gang, then, you know, obviously, because he wanted Baymax to kill him. But anyway, but the point is, I think Callahan's backstory and his arc of becoming a villain, and on top of that, even though he has no remorse and everything, when he is Callahan, he still has that old man vibe. Like, he keeps it suppressed.
So I'll give you that.
Syndrome,
I will give you that. I will give you that real fast. I will give you that yes, this old man is becoming a villain to do whatever he needs to do to get the best route of it.
And he masks it very well.
Yeah, with his stupid mask that makes no sense.
No, not his mask, but like just his whole demeanor.
I know. I'm just saying he has a dumb mask. The thing about Syndrome is, yes, he's a stupid little ginger kid. He's a kid. I'll go with you on that. He's a stupid ginger. He's a stupid ginger kid. I love gingers. One of my best friends is a ginger. Well, let's face it here also. Mr. Incredible's an asshole. Mr. Incredible's an asshole. When Syndrome looked up to him, Mr. Incredible was an asshole. We all know this. He really is one. And that sucks to say, but it comes in that fruition where Syndrome meets his hero. And he finally realizes that he's just a dick. That the hero he looked up to be was just a dick. And the thing about my antagonist is he doesn't view himself as an antagonist. He views himself
Neither does Callahan.
as a hero. I would disagree with that though. Callahan might have his own reasoning, but he's not caring. Syndrome is doing what he thinks is best to give the world, everyone can have the same powers. Everyone can be this. With this technology, you can be a superhero. With this technology, you can be a superhero. Because with that, yes, everyone will be lowered to the same misdemeanor and everyone will be the same, but everyone will be like a super. And that's where you kind of have that mindset. You see Syndrome in that mindset. You see him in with that aspect. And it kind of just goes back to say, this is what he wants. He wants no one to ever feel the same way he ever felt when Mr. Incredible made him look stupid. And it's not just because he's a little annoying ginger kid, because to be honest, I would have smacked him in the face too when he hopped in my car. But doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Syndrome is a very unique villain who views himself as a hero in his story. And yes, Callahan does view himself in that aspect, but the guy's a dick too. All these old men are dicks. Let's just be honest. The ginger kid's probably the less dickish of all them.
Well, yeah. But I mean, Callahan also, he wants to stop Kree because Kree wants to get all this technology and make money out of it. And Callahan believes that that is wrong, you know? So in a way, that's also a different side of him. So yeah, he's bad. You know, he doesn't care who he has to kill in order to get Kree. But at the same time, like, he has this whole thing that technology should be used for good and not evil and not to sell it. But I mean, that's where his character, I think, is so complex because he's neither 100% evil, but he's not obviously good. Versus Syndrome is just all out, I just want to kill Mr. Incredible and all this stuff.
Well,
because he hurt my feelings.
Look at Syndrome. Okay, so I gotta use this. I've been kind of saving this in my gun.
Oh, jeez.
This will either. So I was looking up reasons for this because this is tough. And again, this is why I think Syndrome is a good outlook of just fandom, toxic fandom. It's showing how obsessed someone can be about something, but also willing to destroy it all. Which we see with The Last Jedi. Which we see with the DCEU.
Wow.
Which we see with all this. And I like the DCEU. I liked The Last Jedi. Actually, I love The Last Jedi. But the fact is that this is kind of a little different discussion. But the fact that people are trying to remake the fucking Last Jedi is just dumb.
I agree with that.
I think that we need to leave. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of The Last Jedi, but there are days where you have to just let sleeping dogs lie. You gotta do that. This is why I can't stand all of these reboots and remixes and rehashes. I'm like, just let the original be the original. Let it be.
I agree.
But that's the thing is,
first of all, can I just ask something? Can I never look for any other panelists and just have the both of you on for the rest of my verses because this is just too amazing?
Oh boy,
I seriously may have to invite you guys back for another one, just the two of you. I cannot deal with how amazing this has been.
Okay, but also I want to give this last thing, then I'm done with my antagonist. The guy got rejection. The guy recognized that he literally spent his life worshiping what could be, say, gods in this world. They're not gods, but you know what I mean. Like, some people probably look to these superheroes as gods, just like people look to Superman as gods in Man of Steel and whatnot. But Syndrome looks to that after he was rejected, that he wasn't one of those ones to be born lucky, that he wasn't mutated. He didn't get bit by a spider. He didn't get any of this. He wasn't smart. He's just a dumb little petty ginger kid, like you say. He's petty. He is petty. I get that.
Yeah.
But he literally is. He chose his power. He didn't get to choose his powers. But when he got to make his own powers, he at least earned them himself. And I think that's what kind of makes him a strong villain. Nothing, honestly, again, you made some really good points for your villain, because as much as I think your villain's very weak, you actually made me think, hey, they could have done that villain 10 times better. Why didn't they? But again, Big Hero 6, I think, focuses more on the family aspect of your character with your hero and not as much on the antagonist. I think it's more on hero and himself growing and not as much on the antagonist. I feel like the Incredibles kind of focus more on Syndrome and Mr. Incredible.
Okay, and on my last note, yes, Syndrome had his idol, his god, basically, Mr. Incredible and all this stuff. But Callahan, his world was his daughter. His world, literally, and the fact that his world was presumably dead. And then in the end, when he finds out, that turns out she's alive. So all the stuff that he was doing was basically for nothing, you know? So, and then he has to deal with that guilt. So, I mean, I think, like I said, I think Callahan's reason and why is much stronger.
And I wish they would have showed that a little bit more. I really wish, because you were like the guilt thing. Like again, you were making such good points that it's hard for me to argue. I just wish the film would have shown that, because you're describing it better than the film did, which sucks. Because I think that would have made the film so much stronger. Like, because I think the film's really close to being like perfection, and I feel like the villain was the only part I had an issue with within Big Hero 6. And I feel like you're right. I feel like that guilt thing is something, but it never touched on it enough. And that's where I really wanted to touch on. So I'm done with the antagonist. I'm done with my antagonist and protagonist.
On that note, that was fantastic. But now let's get into the maker is best supporting cast member. And I specifically, when I sent you both the scripts, I said in parentheses, choose wisely, because I'm just going to let you guys in on a little bit of a secret. We're tied right now for this round.
Okay.
Oh dear.
So this is the make or break it. So let's see. We started with Elimarie for number 1, so that means we start with Elimarie for number 3.
Oh yay!
Let's go for supporting cast member. Oh, you did? Well, I'm sorry, but we're going in order here. So
all right. I'm gonna choose the cliche one. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves him. Baymax.
I think it's the best one.
Okay. Not only is Baymax
such bullshit.
Not okay, but think about it. Not only is Baymax okay, he is first and foremost a medical bot. All right. He is there he's basically a walking hospital. Okay. So when you're in battle and stuff, that's great. Number 2,
he's
you
also
could change
a walking balloon. Again.
with an armor.
Without his armor, one good bullet, done. Pop.
Okay,
dead.
but he is replaceable versus if you were to, I don't know, kill one of the Incredibles, that's it. They're done. They're gone forever. Oh my gosh. Wow. But anyway.
Yeah, that's more depressing though. So you're saying to kill a human? That's kind of messed up, man.
Well,
you're the one that started killing Hero.
Hey, don't. That's not so far-fetched. In Big Hero 6, a human died.
True, and a lot of superheroes died in The Incredibles.
Oh, gosh.
That is true, but we actually saw the death to a certain degree.
And not only that, with Baymax, you could change the chip, just like in the movie, and basically Baymax could be like a massive weapon to destroy. Like he could be just literally the worst thing that you want to be up against, because. And the thing is, also with Baymax, you could reprogram him. So if you want him to be a medical bot, but also you want him to like have these weapons and stuff, same thing. I mean, you could really program him to whatever case scenario you want. So. Yeah. And you could also change like his abilities too. Like with the armors, you could either give him.
But that doesn't really make it a character. It just makes it like a personal like slave.
I mean, it's like an armor. It's like a super suit, basically. So like
yeah, I have my own super suit too.
I mean, like with his armor, you could make him into like, I don't know, this.
So he's Iron Man,
and
but
whatever.
Just big. So, but if we're going comic book, so. You know what? Okay, so this is tough for me because before we were discussing this, I had one character. Now I'm like, man, I should do a different character. Make it a little bit harder on myself. So I think I'm going to go the harder route. I think I'm going to go the harder route for myself with this and choose a different supporting character, because I was originally going to do Elastigirl.
Okay.
But I'm going to do Edna Mode. I have to.
Yeah.
Because
I want to hear this. I really want to hear this.
Just because I feel like Edna Mode is the Baymax of The Incredibles.
She's my favorite. Gosh, man.
Oh, so I win because she's your favorite. Thank you.
No,
so there we go.
Okay, but in the end of the day, does Edna go and fight? No, she stays in her house. She's like, no.
Edna,
you make the dirty work.
No kids. No more. You do that I want.
And she's
I make super suit for you. I make super suit for you. I make super suit for you. I designer for all people. I'm like the next fashion designer. Frankly, I don't know, but so I'm Edna Mode. You think about this. I'm an eccentric fashion designer who makes super suit for every single person. I made it for Superman, Batman, Misty Incredible, Elastigirl, Dash, Violet, Jack. I make it for the whole family. You know, this is the Fantastic Four, the Disney universe. I'm Edna Mode trying to make the best universe. I'm a guest at their wedding. I do everything for them. But the thing about Edna Mode that's so great, she doesn't have to fight. She's just sitting there being her awesome little self. And she's a badass in that manner. She could honestly kick Mr. Incredible's ass. We all know this. We all know this. For all we know, we don't know if she has superpowers. Let's be honest. Her superpower is her mind. She is probably one of the smartest characters in the Disney universe because this girl can make super suits that are fireproof.
Same for Hero.
Proof. What?
And the rest of the gang. Whoa, did you hear
Yes.
that? There's like a thunderstorm outside of my
did
house.
you?
Sorry.
Dude,
Yeah, it's because I'm bringing the thunder to Florida. That's what I'm doing.
We're breaking the tension here, man. But I gotta say, you did great with your syndrome, but your Edna Mode that sounded like Dracula from Hotel Transylvania.
That's okay. Blah 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 blah. It's the same stuff.
Nah. It's called Fire Robert.
No.
You want to debate it for me instead?
Hidden talent. Oh.
Oh, I can do impressions.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. Do you want to know why Edna Mode's even better?
I'd like to hear this. That's why we're
I
here.
want to hear this too.
Baymax is cute. Like, don't get me wrong. Baymax is cute, but he's not realistic. Edna Mode was at the Oscars presenting, if I might say, the 77th Academy Awards. She presented Best Costume Design. Did Baymax ever present anything? Hell no. Edna Mode showed up to the damn Oscars.
Yeah, because Baymax is probably saving San Francisco, while Edna Mode is at
and she's presenting a damn Oscar. That's even bigger.
Which,
let's be honest though, Baymax is stupid. He's kind of dumb. Like, he's not the smartest thing in the world. It
depends on the type of chip that you put in him.
So why would you put a dumb chip in him? Edna Mode's
it's the Tadashi one.
Edna Mode could make her own Baymax, but be better and more stylish.
Okay, but that's basically...
Think about Edna Mode's Baymax.
Okay, then that's a potential wasted because why hasn't she done it?
No capes.
Okay,
he would have no capes. He'd probably be more slimmer. He could probably kick more butt, and he'd probably have a better super suit.
Honestly, I don't think he could top the super armor that Hero made for Baymax. If Edna was really capable of all these things, why doesn't she create her own huge monster thing, or why doesn't she create her own outfit so she can go and fight too?
It's not her story. She's just a best supporting cast member. Honestly, I think Baymax is more of the protagonist. I think he's just up there with Hero. I think they're both the protagonists. You have Hero and Baymax. I think they're both the same together. Without Hero, you don't get Baymax. Without Baymax, you don't get Hero.
That's a supporting character. They support each other.
But that's the thing. You could never just make a Baymax film. You look at Finding Dory. Dory was the supporting character in Finding Nemo. They took her and made her own film. Edna Mode, let's be honest, they could make a whole film about her, probably make $1 billion. Just being honest, you can make a whole film about how she runs the underworld of superhero designing suits or whatever. She probably works
but that's
so many designers.
She's a designer. She's not a
She probably makes them for Zoolander too, which is awesome.
Action. Literally, and her super suits, they could literally go down. Well, they can't really go down the drain, as we've seen in.
Actually, no,
in The Incredibles 2, they can't go down the drain. But I'm just saying.
Well, we're talking about the continuation of the story in the next segment, so technically I could bring that back up. But
the point is,
her suits are indestructible.
All she does in the movie.
Baymax died to rebuild her. That's bullshit. The fact that Hero had to remake him again. Yes, he gave his life up, which it was cute and adorable, but Edna Mode is one of the best supporting cast members ever.
Yes, okay. But all she does literally is just design clothes. She basically designs the super suits. That's it. That's literally
Edna Mode is so
all she adds to the story. She doesn't.
Edna Mode is such a good character. Brad Bird said, "I'm gonna voice her."
Okay. But back to the character. Can you guys hear that thunder?
Yeah, it's because I'm bringing the thunder. I literally told you I'm throwing the thunder.
Part of me really wishes that it was here right about now because I could use some rain.
But anyway, like I said, Edna is literally all she does is fashion design. She doesn't even want to get involved in the world of supers. Like, she doesn't really want to fight. She doesn't really want to get involved versus Baymax. Baymax is needed by the whole team. If it wasn't for Baymax, honestly, they probably wouldn't have defeated Callahan or anything. And if they wanted to, Baymax could literally just destroy anybody he wanted. So
I mean, yeah, he could, but he's not going to because he's
he
a big ass
actually
marshmallow.
the team. All right, he helps the team medical-wise, weapon-wise, all that stuff versus Edna.
You know, if we were talking about Baymax from the comics, it'd be so much different. Baymax is the ugliest thing from the comics. He's a giant lizard, pretty much.
Yes, but Disney gave the creators the right to do whatever they wanted, and that's why they did what they did.
And they made Edna Mode, who in reality could be looked at as a bitch in a sense, but she's not. She's adorable, she's awesome, and she has some of the best lines in the whole film. That's why in the second film, which we'll be discussing later, she got a little bit one of the best parts in the whole movie, because everyone loved her from the first one. That's why her Funko Pop's one of the most expensive Funko Pops on the market, because she is amazing. Again, like I said, her character's so well done, Brad Bird decided to voice her.
Yeah, but she doesn't really add that much to the story, except for the fact that she's sassy and the fact that all she does is all she does is the suits, which technically, I mean, the suits is just it's like an armor, but technically it doesn't really add anything to the powers of the supers. I mean, Violet could still be invisible, Elastigirl could still be elastic. I mean, the only thing is just the suits. It just helps them with certain things, but it doesn't really add to anything. Versus Baymax, I mean, Baymax, you need Baymax in the team. I mean, Edna is just the designer.
We've got a dead silence here. I think we're actually going to call round 2 quits at this point in time. Okay, Elimarie is still alive because of that last statement. You had it in the bag. You had the whole thing in the goddamn bag, and you let her say that last piece, and that's why she gets it. Because you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Edna Mode is a great character.
I love Edna. I love her.
Elimarie said it best. Baymax contributes more via all of the facts that he's on the team. He fights with the team. And Edna Mode, yes, she's a genius. She makes the costumes, but what else is she doing? That's the question. Besides, I don't consider Edna Mode adorable. I consider Edna Mode fantastic rather than adorable. I don't find her cute, but
no, she's darling.
Darling, absolutely. But the other thing is, you did mention the fact that Brad Bird voices. We also have to remember that every Pixar film director lends their voice to one character in the film. That's something that we all have to remember, just like how Bruce Timm lended his voice when he was the writer or producer or director of any DC film, direct-to-DVD, the animated ones. He would voice a character, whether it was a large amount or a small amount. But, oh my God, you two are maniacs at this, and I love it so dearly. I truly do. I'm telling you, we've got a lot of great comments here. Everybody is having a fantastic time here. And one of the other things I wanted to mention in the Antagonists with the villain, the one thing that I personally took away from Big Hero 6 was the M. Night Shyamalan-like twist. The fact that we all thought that the villain was somebody and it ended up being somebody else. And I appreciated the fact that it wasn't the nothing is black or white scenario and the villain walks the shade of gray. No. There was a villain in this film. You could sympathize, which again, I give credit to someone like Bruce Timm, who gave us reasons to sympathize with Batman's rogues gallery, case in point characters like Two-Face or Mr. Freeze, by giving us stories that they were truly great people and they really had good intentions, and then something completely made their earth shatter, which is what happened with Callahan. And that is why I personally, even though I love Syndrome, I'm only doing this now because of the fact that I don't do this during the battles, but I personally think that Syndrome is a weak villain. I truthfully believe so.
I think he's so much stronger, but that's the thing. I think Elimarie, I think that's the best thing. You literally made the villain for Big Hero 6 10 times better than what the film portrayed it as.
And I agree. Personally, I looked at Syndrome, ironically, because of the fact that he was voiced by Jason Lee. He reminded me as if Brody from Mallrats became a supervillain, and he is not a good supervillain. I mean, I love the story that they built around him, but for me, I found it to be a little more weaker in terms of an overall villain than somebody like, Callahan, because Callahan had a true earth-shattering event happen to him, whereas, you know, like we all said, Syndrome was just a pissed-off fanboy.
Yep.
That's
Once you
just the way
said
that I
petty,
look.
once you said petty, I kind of want to take back my comment that he's one of the best Disney villains because
Dude, if you really think that he is better than Hades or Judge Claude Frollo, then you've got a serious issue, man. I love you to
If
death,
you
but
think
there are
he's just
so
better
many.
than Hades, like I just got.
no, I said he's one of the best. I didn't say he's fucking better
Oh
than
God!
Hades.
As far as I'm concerned,
You
one of the
can't.
greatest Disney villains of all time who needs more credit is Professor Ratigan. He is one of the greatest. I seriously believe that Ratigan, because he is voiced, of course, by the legendary late Vincent Price, I seriously believe, and I want to find this out one day, I think that Mark Hamill got his version of the Joker from Ratigan.
Probably.
I seriously do, because he is a deliciously evil villain, and that's one of those villains where you're watching the villain and you just love watching how evil he is. Those are, to me, some of the best villains in all of villainy. And that's why I love Hades. It's like, he's a villain, but I love the fact that he sounds like a used car salesman. I absolutely love that. Like, he's a deal maker. I appreciate that about him.
He's one of the greatest, like, honestly.
Well, that's also because of the fact that I'm such a loyal James Woods fan. I adore James Woods. Oh God. That's why I was just so happy that I managed to get Pain and Panic from Funko's San Diego Comic-Con. Still cannot believe I got that. I was so sorry you didn't get them, Elimarie. I know you wanted them.
It's fine. But, and also, like, man, you could literally, anything that Hades says, you could literally put it in a shirt or a bumper sticker. It's so quotable. Like, gosh, I think he's one of the greatest characters.
Absolutely. I just love the fact that he actually says some Yiddish in the film. I think that that's hilarious. I love the fact that he called somebody a schlemiel. I just thought that was too funny.
Yeah.
Schlemiel, he says, oy vey. I'm like, oh my God, this is like a Jewish grandfather. It's hysterical. But anyway, we've still got one more round, and I'm really excited because, as I said, when I was putting this together, I wanted to make this as fair as I possibly could. And quite frankly, I think at this point in time, after 2 rounds, the job has been done. But there is a whole other Incredibles movie that could easily have been roped into the entire conversation and literally tore Big Hero.
It's been hard not to bring it up. It's been hard not to bring it up.
I know, but you see, again, that's why I felt we had to do it this way. But luckily, there is somewhat of a competition to The Incredibles 2. It's not a movie, but it is something completely unexpected, I think, for most of us when we first heard that this was happening. So we are now going to go into the 3rd round, and we're going to wrap up the rest of the show because so far it's been absolutely stellar. Thank you so much, both of you. We're going to talk about the continuation. Oh, of course, the continuation of the story. The first part, and we're going to start with Zach because we started with Elimarie in round 2. We're going to start off with a sequel film versus a television series.
So, The Incredibles 2, 14 years later, finally comes out, directed by Brad Bird, written by Brad Bird, comes out, cast comes back besides the guy who did Dash.
Did a great job finding a replacement.
Yep, couldn't even tell. And it takes place literally right after the first Incredibles. And it was perfect. It's perfect. It's a perfect sequel. I will go as far to say, give me 2 years to sit on the second one. Let me rewatch it quite a few times, and it might even be better than the first film, which I think the first film's probably one of the best Pixar films, if not the best, right behind Toy Story, just because Toy Story is like my favorite film of all time. So The Incredibles 2 did something special, and it centers the story on Elastigirl, who was a very strong supporting cast member in the last one, which I should have picked over Edna Mode. God damn it for not doing that. But the thing with this is that it's portrayed by Holly Hunter. And I mean, Holly Hunter's voice is she's so perfect for Elastigirl. I think everyone has their own little crush on Holly Hunter in a sense. If you didn't see The Big Sick last year, what are you doing? That movie tore me down because of her performance.
I enjoyed that movie a great deal. I didn't see it in theaters, but I finally did see it and reviewed it, and I have to say it was a very big surprise, and I thought the entire cast was brilliant.
Totally brilliant. But Elastigirl's story in here and how it goes from here. But the thing that I think The Incredibles 2 did better than the original was, as the original didn't do as well with the supporting cast, I feel like the sequel for this one opens it up more, gives more to Frozone, gives Edna Mode a fantastic little dialogue moment. Wanted a little bit more of her. I'll be honest in there. I thought she was going to be in it a bit more, but they open up a little subplot with Jack and Mr. Incredible having to be the stay-at-home dad, which he's not used to. He's used to being a superhero. But again, it goes back to the first one where he has to learn again, and he has to say, hey, like, I have to be the superhero at home so my wife can go out and be the superhero for them, so we can all be superheroes together, and so our kids can have the same and different their kids can have the different types of options in their lives, that they can be superheroes or they can go and be a normal human being if they want to. But Incredibles 2 did something so special, and I felt like this is something that, looking at Big Hero 6, I wanted a sequel over a show, because I feel like, yes, a show can do more within a 30-minute runtime. And yes, you can get more time with these characters, but I feel like movies can take more risks than cartoons can do today. And yes, there are some cool cartoons that in the last few years that have done potential risk. You look at Rick and Morty, which is not for kids, but that's a risky show in a sense. Gravity Falls is a huge one. Avatar: The Last Airbender, which for me was with Korra, was probably the last big risky Disney show. Or not Disney show, but it Disney? Was it Disney?
Nickelodeon, I thought.
I don't remember. It's one of the two.
Yeah, Avatar was done by Nickelodeon. It was the first American-made anime-style film.
But Gravity Falls was Disney. Gravity Falls was Disney.
That is correct.
The last risky Disney show they did. And Big Hero 6, the series, is cute. It's adorable. I'll admit, it's fun. But it doesn't go into those dark aspects that the first one did. And that's the thing that Incredibles 2 still touched on, was that family aspect, the thing with coming of age, and just not even coming of age, but like that midlife crisis still in there, but dealing with the family aspect. That's something that's, you see their family living in a motel. What Disney film shows a happy family living in a motel, a family struggling with being sued by the city for stopping the Underminer, and all of that? Plus, you get Frozone, who gets another great scene. You get him with some more aspects in there, and it opens up the world to more Incredibles with adding a little bit more cast members that I think they could have touched on a little bit more. But I think touched on them enough that if and when, and hopefully they do make another Incredibles film, it touches on where they're going next within this world. I rest my case. Hand me the award now.
Elimarie, what do you have to say about the fact that instead of making a sequel film, Big Hero 6 turned into a television series as opposed to a movie?
All right, I just got to start by saying that literally, I think it was, I guess, a couple of months after Big Hero 6 premiered that they already knew that they were going to do a TV series. So this was like right off the bat. They knew, because the thing is that
they probably knew once they saw the box office.
The story world is just so big. I mean, versus The Incredibles, I think, let's be honest, if you were to have an Incredibles TV show, you're very limited. You know, it's just like, there's not really much you can do. Versus in San Francisco, not only do we get to explore this world that we just don't know that much about, but also we are introduced to different characters. And not only the characters, but also there's characters with superpowers, and then there's characters with the same technology powers, I guess, that the Big Hero 6 uses. So not only do you like see different characters, but also different villains. And then you see how the different, you know, the gang really tries different ways to defeat all these different people. And then you know more about the characters, the story world, and overall. And I think they do take risks. I think they can take risks. And I think later on in the series, they are going to go a little bit deeper with some emotional things.
But are they? Because I don't think they will.
Technically,
I
which
just don't
technically
get
they did. Which technically they do. I mean, because I think they can. But then again, I look at Clone Wars, Star Wars Clone Wars. I got to bring it up because I love it. But anyway, but I think, for example, the first season of Clone Wars, it's kind of just there. It's like, okay, whatever. But it really doesn't get deep until later on in the series. So
it got
I
deeper
think
because of Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni's amazing, okay? He could
I
literally
want
save
his
Star
Dave
Wars.
hat. I wish I could pull off that hat. Let's just be honest.
They gotta give him the studio. Kennedy's gotta go.
I agree. Just give him all of Star Wars and just save Star Wars. Dave Filoni. But
real fast, have you guys ever watched the interview with him with Christian Harloff and Freddie Prinze Jr. on Collider? If you haven't yet, watch it or listen to it, because the way that Freddie Prinze talks about Star Wars Rebels and how working with Dave Filoni works is insane. It's incredible. Like, they say that, like, they'll go into the voice thing and they'll have 2 hours to work. That's all Disney will give them. And Dave will take an hour and a half talking about and setting up how every little thing in the episode comes about to be.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
It's
so, like I said, I don't think Disney is scared to take risks. I think Disney can and they will take risks, especially in Big Hero 6, because I don't know, but in the series there's something going on. There's a villain that we kind of don't know about. But that's going to be in the next. Yeah. So that's going to be like in the next topic. But yeah, overall with the TV series, and I think with Big Hero 6 it has to be a TV series because there's so much potential, so much things going on. Versus if it were to be in a movie, it's like, okay, we get this one story, versus in a TV series, not only do we get individual standalone movies, but all these standalone movies episodes, they could make one huge story arc as a whole season. So
that's where I'll go, is that yes, it's nice to have, like, you can have a whole story arc, but I feel like the film hasn't, or the show hasn't led itself to be like that yet. From what I've watched, it hasn't grabbed my attention either, because it just
I think it's building up. It's building up to something.
And hopefully it does. I hope to God it does. But I always felt like Big Hero 6 left open on a very nice open-ended conclusion where it should have just gone into another adventure. Just how Incredibles 2 left it open on an open-ended conclusion, showing that they're going to go kick Underminer's ass, and then it opens up just on that. And that event opens up a whole realm of what could be happening. And I feel like Big Hero 6, again, could have touched up on more of that stuff, but it felt like they're just going a route where, like, yes, people want Big Hero 6. People want more of Baymax and everything. And I wanted more of Baymax too, and I wanted a movie. I didn't want a show. But then you look at it, and you look at the show, and you're like, it just seems like the show, in a sense, is a lot of different types of adventures that the cast goes on, instead of one concurring story arc where it gets into those dark moments. And I felt like not just the studio, but I think the creators looked at that. They probably did the same thing with Tangled as well, where they're like, hey, look, Tangled, it did pretty good at the box office. It made us some money, but we don't have an exact sequel story. So why are we going to push it out? Why not just do a small another adventure on Disney XD? Because Disney XD can take those little small things and do it with different adventures. Big Hero 6, the sequel series, does the same thing. It has a nice animation, but it's not as vibrant and colorful as the original one was. And it just sets itself to be small little adventures with the same cast that you really like. And yeah, you get more of cute little Baymax. That's awesome. Well, he's not really cute. He's a giant fucking marshmallow, but he's still cute. And that's where it kind of goes, is that I just always look at it and see that he's just Baymax, and it's just the story and adventures of him. And maybe the show will evolve into something like Clone Wars. I hope it does. I want it to, but at this point in time, it hasn't yet. The Incredibles 2 has already come out. It's come out. It said what it's needed to be, and it's shown what it is. And it was fantastic. Everyone loved it. Lots of people talk about how it's even better than the first film. Again, I'm not going to say it is, because that's kind of hard. It's nostalgia versus now. But Incredibles 2 did the same thing. It updated the graphics. It updated the story and went more into that.
Well, they had a bigger budget. All right.
It did have a bigger budget, and I'll give that.
Okay.
But it did have a bigger budget. But the problem with it is Big Hero 6 could have did it. Because, to be honest, both the box office for Big Hero 6, 1, and the first Incredibles were relatively the same. And I felt like both the creators looked at it, and it took them 14 years to make another Incredibles, and Brad Bird he already knew he wanted an Elastigirl. He already knew he wanted Elastigirl to be the main central hero, but he didn't know which ways to weave it in. The same thing goes for Big Hero 6. They probably looked at different avenues before finally agreeing on, let's just make it a show. We're never going to get a Big Hero 6 sequel movie. That's just the truth. It's on the Disney XD, which is awesome. I hope it runs for quite a few seasons, and I hope it goes darker. I hope it goes into that more different type of realm than we've seen before with a Disney show. Well, we've seen Disney shows with it, but I hope it goes more into Clone Wars route. I hope it goes in that more darker route. Man, my throat hurts. I rest my case again. I just really think Big Hero 6, they looked at it and they said, we can just put little tiny adventures in there. The little kiddos will watch it and they'll enjoy it, and other people will enjoy it too, but it won't go to the same depth that the first Big Hero 6 did.
Well, I think I think with the TV shows, I think something is brewing, but the thing is, since it started, we really don't know. But I honestly think all these little adventures will build up to something, and something will happen in the end. And honestly, having a TV show, like I said, it really explores the world and all these adventures, which otherwise we wouldn't know much. We wouldn't know where Gogo lives. We wouldn't know that side of the town. We wouldn't know anything in like a movie, because a movie, everything is rushed, in which in a way I felt in certain scenes, and I'm not the only one that feels like this, but in certain scenes in The Incredibles, it felt rushed. They didn't have enough time to really develop some of the supporting characters.
No, and that's
they
what I'll
didn't
get
really
to.
have
The
time.
supporting cast wasn't as developed. And that's where you kind of have the show. The show,
Yeah.
you have more time to develop on. And it's nice to see, yeah, Go, cool, whatever, you're cool. It's nice to see you on that part. But Big Hero 6, again, it doesn't get to the length that it should, because The Incredibles 2 is still about our main heroines. You know, you get more of Jack, you get more of Frozen, you get more of Mr.
Same
Incredible,
for
you get
the
more of
series.
Elastigirl, you get more, but not as much. Not as much as in depth as The Incredibles goes into. You don't see your character struggling in a fucking motel, eating Chinese food, and arguing with each other about washing their hands.
Wow.
That's something different.
What a midlife crisis that is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, let's
Midlife
get into some of the supporting cast members that helped these new additions to the story along. Let's go to Elimarie and let's talk about what you think are some of the highlights in terms of some of the new characters. I mean, part of me is hoping you're going to say one specific character, but I have a strange feeling that you will not.
Wait, do you want only one supporting character?
Well, give me an old rundown on some of your personal favorites, because we have 30 minutes left, and my wife is starting to yell at me because of the fact that I haven't touched my lunch yet.
We'll end this fast. We'll end this fast.
Okay,
Here's the deal.
so...
Just give me the award.
Wait, what?
No. We are continuing. Let us move on. The lunch can wait.
Okay, so the thing is, in the Big Hero 6 series, yeah, they introduce different villains, in which you see that some of the villains do have superpowers, some villains have just high technology and whatever, and obviously that's a challenge to the characters, and one of them is Globby. I have to mention Globby. But anyway, basically, you know, he is kind of a funny antagonist, but that's not really the main character that I wanted to talk about, because basically in the series the main focus, even though they do bring in like all of these other side characters and stuff, but the main focus is really developing all of the main characters, like more about Hero, his aunt, Gogo, Honey Lemon, Wasabi, Fred, like all of these, you know, characters. But I think also Cray, we know a lot more about Cray in this series, and we see he has a good heart, but at the same time, he's selfish. And the whole thing with Hero's aunt, I thought you see more of his character in that, and you understand him more. And I thought his character just not only adds to like the whole group dynamic, because he knows who the Big Hero 6 is, but also just a better understanding of this world of technology, which which technically he is key to the unknown villain or whatever, because I don't know, there's something going on there.
But let me get to this.
They even got Alan Tudyk back to voice him, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
But
this
is the thing I'll put.
Stanley shows up. All right,
yeah, in like 2 episodes. Yeah, that's cool.
That is true.
So, new supporting cast. We're talking about the new supporting cast.
Okay.
We've already seen your old cast members. Yeah, it's cool to get more stuff about them. But Incredibles 2, we get introduced to a bunch of new characters, especially one that I hope they touch on in an Incredible sequel named Void. This is the main one I'm really going to touch on the most, because I think Void, voiced by Sophia Bush, was the biggest small standout of this whole new supporting cast. Yeah, it's cool seeing an old Birdman that does look like a little bit like Stan Lee. Or not, well, not the bird one. The throwing up vomit dude was cool.
The frog
he kind of
guy.
looked like Stan Lee, I guess. Yeah, the frog guy, whatever. But the main thing for this is you touch on Void. I think Void's probably one of the big standouts for here, because you see that she's kind of just touching on her powers in a sense. And Holly Hunter's character Elastigirl is kind of trying to have good dynamics with her. Obviously, they didn't go super much into it because the movie still is about the Incredibles, not just Void and the side characters, but it does open it up for new supporting. And that's the thing. The villains also Incredibles 2, while predictable, the Screen Slayer had purpose. I'm not going to get this. Are we allowed to spoil?
Dude, if people haven't seen The Incredibles 2 by now, they shouldn't even be watching this. There's spoilers in every single one of these live shows. Go for it.
Okay, so Catherine Keener plays Eleven, whatever. I can never pronounce names right. I can never be a teacher because I would be pronouncing every kid's name wrong in the class. I'd be like the Aaron type stuff. But Evelyn Dever, she's the main villain. She's the screen slayer. And Bob Odenkirk plays her brother. They set up to be the brother, but the brother just turns out to be kind of a schmuck with lots of money, which is cool. And Bob Odenkirk is amazing. But Kathleen Keener did something special with this role. As much as I can say the villain is very predictable, I'll hit that. I'll knock it down. You're probably going to knock it down too. Very predictable villain. But the villain itself has good motive. It's not a petty ginger kid. Let's get it right there. Oh, wow. It's not a petty ginger kid. And I'll knock down Syndrome for that. Catherine Keener brought emphasis. You could feel the pain in her that she lost her parents because her parents relied on supers. Why should we care for them when her parents relied on them and they weren't doing anything well? Which could even go more to Syndrome's route. Is why did we need supers? Why not make everyone supers? Because then that event wouldn't have happened. Makes it Syndrome even better villain in that part of the boy, even though he was a ginger kid. You look at Catherine Keener's character in here and Void's, and their different dynamics that they both carry within this. And they're both supporting cast. Again, they're just supporting cast. They don't need that much stuff with them, but the amount of stuff that we got for them is enough. And especially if we go into a sequel, Void will definitely be in there. We all know it will. They set her up perfectly in there. And Bradbury, you can totally tell, put Sophia Bush in there. Especially, you don't get Sophia Bush to just be a one-note character. Void had small layers in there that I at least saw. And I'll admit, again, the other cast members were cool, but it just opened up more to show that there were different superheroes in here. Big Hero 6, the series, yeah, I will admit, the villains are cool. Globby, I like Globby. But everyone else, pretty much the same.
Okay, but here's the thing. In The Incredibles 2, yeah, the villain is predictable. Wow, shocker. But in the Big Hero 6 series, we have this villain that is basically controlling everything on the outside, right? And he's getting all this information from the Big Hero 6 team, and we have no idea who he is yet. We have no idea what he is capable of. So this is something...
Because Baymax is actually the villain of the whole show.
Wow, that's crazy. But, I mean... So we have like this unknown villain, which the team doesn't even know about. And I think that is even scarier because we don't know who this person is. We don't know what they're capable of. We don't even know what they really want. But we just know
let's be honest to that part. It's a villain. It's intriguing.
Yeah, but
we don't know anything about him. We don't know anything about him. So how he's new.
But like I said, I think that has a bigger.
At least know stuff about Void and Catherine Keener's
I think that's a bigger advantage than Void because with Void we saw it coming. We saw it coming. Oh yeah, the sister, she has resentment. Oh my gosh, no, she's gonna want to like get rid of all the supers. Boohoo, you know. Versus this, if this villain wanted to get rid of Big Hero 6, he would have probably done it by now. You know, he probably would have done whatever he could.
I mean, Catherine Keener could have gotten rid of Elastigirl the second she met her. Let's be honest. She was playing a game behind the scenes too. The girl just dealt her hands faster because Elastigirl is smarter than anyone on your team because she figured it out while she was drinking. That's something special. Your team ain't even like tipsy yet. They're just kids running around in super suits.
Oh, what do the Incredibles do?
They don't wear capes. They don't wear capes.
Neither does Big Hero 16.
Faster. At least Elastigirl figured out who the main villain was faster than Big Hero 6 has. How many episodes have they had?
Encountered this person yet. So this person is literally working behind the scenes.
Neither did Elastigirl. Elastigirl used her mind. She used her power. She used her little things to figure out who the screensaver was. Tracked it down.
But she literally found that out in
tracked her down. Okay. But she was drinking. She was drinking. That's something special. A mom was tipsy, sitting there drinking, looks at the computer. She's like, there's something off about this. Catherine Keener kidnaps her. And that's, in that moment, she knew who it was. That's the thing. She figured it out. Big Hero 6 still has not figured it out. And that's the thing is that your villain, yes, as intriguing as it is, the reveal could be dumb. It could just be a ginger kid trying to kill Big Hero 6 because he resents them for something stupid. For all you know, that's all it is. But we don't know it yet. So in that fact, as intriguing as the villain is, we don't know anything.
Yeah, but
And
most
in
of
the
the
end of the
time,
day,
if
it
a
could
villain
be
is
a
taking their time,
disappointment.
if a villain is taking their time, right, to get information from these people, okay, that means that he has something up his sleeve, and that's something really horrible. Versus Void, which Void literally revealed her plan within like 2 days of like 2 days, right? Versus this
Well, Void's not
villain.
the
No, I
bad
think you
guy.
mean
Void's the
I
good
think you
guy.
mean Screenslaver.
Yeah, Screenslaver.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So
Your character, who actually was just named in the last episode, is
I haven't seen the last episode.
Obake. That's what his name is. You're absolutely right with what you're saying, Elimarie. To me, he reminds me of one of the greatest villains that Batman ever faced. He reminds me of Bane, a guy that
Ooh, yeah.
studied his enemy
Yeah,
before he took him down.
Yep, that's true. That's true. So
Okay.
Okay.
But listen. We don't know if he'll be like that, though. Like I said, the reveal could still be dumb. You don't know. There's tons of great setups for villains, and then they don't execute it right. Mewtwo in the Pokemon movie was amazing, but it could have been dumb. You look at other shows like Teen Titans Go, for instance. The villains ain't good for that. Slade was great in the original one. Teen Titans Go, he's horrible. You look at other villains that they set up.
Horrible.
Now you're gonna get hate comments because that's what I got in my review for that film.
But
you look at
I'm not even talking about the film. Let me say something, man.
The film's actually amazing really fast. The film's actually really good.
I'm telling this right now. I will never, ever, 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 with a 10-foot pole, go anywhere near Teen Titans Go. And because of Teen Titans Go, that is why Young Justice and Green Lantern, the animated series, got canceled. And I will never forgive Warner Brothers for that. Never, ever, ever. Which is why studio interference with Warner Brothers is a cancer on the film industry. Continue, please.
Are you sure? I don't want to listen to you.
Absolutely. Oh,
yeah,
dude,
I'm really interested in this debate.
Another conversation for another time. I have never forgiven Warner Brothers for what they did. Never.
You should make a petition.
So look at this. But like I'm saying, there have been plenty of villains where they build it up and it just turns to crap. And that's what I'm saying. You don't know yet about your villain. It could turn out to be Bane. It could turn out to be the next damn Joker for all we know. But it hasn't done it yet, which kind of sucks on your part because that's what I think is the problem with Big Hero 6's show. It should have just been a sequel movie. I think you could have easily developed this villain into an hour and 55-minute movie, which would have kept the attention, would have kept that same animation style, would have been able to bring more emphasis into the Big Hero 6 team and bring another great story and also have those greater, darker developments into there. That's why in the continuation of the story, this whole third thing that we are talking about, the issue with it relies in that is that Big Hero 6 should have just been a movie. It shouldn't have just relied on these small little adventures, which I hope in the end of the day do turn out to help your show. But for right now, it's not. Tons of great villains, but some have always let us down, and this one could be letting us down too. We don't know yet.
Like I said, I believe it is building up to something. Otherwise, why would they, like I said, or like you said, waste all these episodes just building up for nothing? So I strongly believe they are building up to something and something evil because this is Disney. All right, and I doubt Disney's gonna let the Big Hero 6.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. Let's be honest. The villain, for all we know, probably his parents died because every freaking Disney thing, their parents die. So, and that's gonna be the main motivation. That's gonna be dumb. It's gonna be something that, like, the Big Hero 6 team was trying to save someone, and that, oh my God, they killed the family in the crossfire. Sorry, we didn't know.
Well, the final thing that we want to discuss is the concept of containing these specific stories to a 2-hour movie, possibly a third film in the works for Incredibles.
Yeah, Incredibles. 15 years later.
Hopefully it won't be that way. As opposed to, like Elimarie keeps saying about Big Hero 6, the series, can go on, if it's successful, for multiple seasons, and who knows?
They're already approved for season 2, just saying.
And maybe successful, if it does go in the direction of Clone Wars, maybe we'll end up seeing a conclusion on the big screen.
Here's my thing. But that's the thing. You can't put Big Hero 6 back on the big screen now because the issue is not everyone watches the shows. So that's the problem. So you're going to have continuity errors in that part. Again, a contained 2-hour film to possible multiple seasons. I think both shows could work on both different layouts. Incredibles could be a show, but it would just be different adventures of them doing stupid little things. Big Hero 6, same thing. Could go for the more depth route or the more adventure route. What's going to sell more toys? A show or a movie? Probably the show for the little kids, and that's something we don't want a Batman versus Robin type thing where we're going to make tons of villains, tons of different heroes, put them in this so they can make it. The whole thing with it is a contained 2-hour film gets the more greater depth. And I will admit, a show can do the same thing, but Big Hero 6 has not proved it yet, and I feel like the movie proved it more over it. Especially as you were talking about the villain and how much greater depth it could be. I think the villain probably would have worked better in the show, but nothing has proved that yet in the show. All the show has proved me is that, yeah, they're going on cool little fun adventures and that there's a villain that they're building up to right now, but the villain in the end of the day could turn into a disappointment. Incredibles, at least we've seen everything. We've seen what's going to happen. We don't have to worry about it just cliffhangering off. At least I'm now contained in these 2 films that I know exactly where the Incredible story can go. And if we get a 3rd film, that's great.
Yeah, but that's just it. It's contained. Versus in Big Hero 6, you have multiple possibilities with all these other characters and introducing new characters in the series, which, like I said, which I think it could actually be a pro for the fact that we don't even know what's coming up next, because for all we know, it could just be an insane plot twist that could happen, versus in the movies, it's already done. It's already contained. We already know what's happened. And if there is a 3rd movie, then, it's just there. Versus in a series, it literally could go any route. We honestly don't know.
Let's be honest. Every type of thing. Disney does a lot of shows. And sometimes they run a little bit too long.
I think all shows sometimes do that.
And a lot of TV shows do that nowadays. I mean, you look at Lost, went way too fucking long. You look at particularly maybe Big Hero 6's series, could go a little too long. You look at a lot of the Disney things where they make these great animated features and then make them into shows. Aladdin. I like the show.
Aladdin was great.
Didn't need it though.
The TV show was fantastic.
You didn't even mention the elephant in the room. You want to talk about a show that really outstayed its welcome? Why the hell is Supernatural still on television?
That's my point. CW. But that's the thing. Disney, I don't think, has learned. The 3 best Disney shows. I'm not going to include DuckTales because that's unfair. The 3 best Disney shows that came from it came from something that was on a big screen and went down was Clone Wars. But Clone Wars, for me, only got better before it was on Disney. It wasn't a Disney show originally, and everyone has to remember that.
Absolutely right. Originally it was a Warner Brothers show. It was a Warner Brothers show, and Disney got it in season number 6.
Yep. The second show that was amazing was the Lilo and Stitch show, and that's nostalgia purposes.
That was great.
I haven't watched it in years. I can't tell you.
That's
the 3rd show, which I will say is fantastic, but Disney screwed around with it, screwed around with the animation style, screwed around with this, and I think the show went on a little bit too long. And if you guys remember the show, I'll be so happy. American Dragon Jake Long.
Oh,
putting it right there. That show was superb. Yeah. Changed the animation style, kind of went a little bit downhill from that part, and it went on a little bit too long. And for me, Big Hero 6 really reminds me of American Dragon Jake Long. I love that show, and it had the same problem with the villain. Building up a really cool villain that in the end of the day kind of just turned to crap. And I felt like it never went the same route with it. I feel like the show went on too long with that, and I feel like Big Hero 6 is going to fall into that. It's developing a really cool villain that in the end of the day, I think will just get revealed, and it will just stick around and stay around in something that shouldn't be. I feel like Big Hero 6, again, should have just worked as a central movie. I think this is a series. These characters deserved a bigger film than just a show. And that's where I think Disney didn't believe in the concept. Because Big Hero 6 is a really weird concept. Let's be honest. Like, Baymax is a weird character. I think we can admit that. Like, on first glance, you look at that, you're like, that's kind of stupid. I'm going to be honest. It kind of is. Like, he's cute, but when you see him in context,
cool.
It's better. Yeah, but in context, when you see it, it's cool. But on just a picture screen, I'm just like, what is this? What is this? What is this? But I look at that and that's where I get my worries from. I feel like a film, you get it, you're done. The show, just can keep going forever, which could be a good thing too. But it's only going on to a second season, and we don't know any more than we know from there.
I mean, we're only halfway through season 1, like not even. And well, actually, yeah, we are. And also, I think Disney would have learned from their mistakes from previous shows. And why would Disney invest so much in this new series? I mean, they had.
I mean, they really haven't
Comic-Con
invested
panel.
that much in it. The animation's cute and all, but it's not like the best. I'm just saying, there's been better animation. DuckTales has probably the best animation on Disney XD
I mean,
right
but
now.
that's like an artistic thing. I mean, some people prefer that animation because it's like an artistic thing, like I said, you know. But honestly, I think if Disney didn't, I don't think if it was as strong, then they wouldn't really be pushing it as much. But I mean, they had a Comic-Con panel. They're selling, you know, new merchandise. They're doing all these like press things for it. So honestly, I think they believe, and the fact that they approved it for season 2, I think they
mean,
have
they really
something.
approve any Disney show for season 2. I mean, let's be
Okay,
honest.
but I honestly think that there is something there, and that is why Disney is really pushing for it. So, I mean, and usually, sometimes
If they were
some of the best
pushing for
shows.
it, though, wouldn't they put it on their streaming service, though? That's coming out. Wouldn't they move it over there? Wouldn't they have saved it for that to make
is.
people? No. Well, it's going to be on there, but it's already on Disney XD. Or wouldn't they have put it? If I feel like if they really believed in it, they would have put it on the actual Disney Channel. I feel like Disney XD is kind of where they
Look at
put.
Clone Wars. Clone Wars is going to be in the app, and Clone
gonna be on
Wars
the
is
streaming
probably
service,
one of the best animated series ever.
Yeah, but that's but now Disney owns it. I don't know how they're going to do it. Star Wars Rebels was great, but also I'll be honest here, Star Wars Rebels ran too long. It ran too long. It should have only been like 2 or 3 seasons. I think the 4th season is honestly, but be honest, like there's so much filler in that show.
You know what?
The whale episode was the dumbest thing I've ever watched.
You know
Like,
what?
I
Rebels
agree. Is that the first halves are great, the middle's crap, and then the endings are fantastic. And that's how I feel like that's how Big Hero 6 is going to end up going.
I started watching a new show on Netflix. It's not really new. I didn't even know how old it was. I'm watching comedians in cars getting coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. And Jerry Seinfeld said it best when it came to creating seasons. It's like you had those. He said the 22 episode thing is like a death trap. He's like, you've got.
And guess how much Big Hero 6 has for its first season? 21 episodes.
You got those 13 great episodes, and then you may have another 3 ready to go. But the rest of those episodes, you literally have to pull a miracle out of your ass in order to make it watchable for the rest of the season.
And that's what's tough about it. That's just tough in TV series in general. You look at CW, they do the same bullshit. It's 35 episodes per season, which why in God's name do you need 35 episodes to tell a story? That's 35 hours of one story. That's too much.
I agree with that. I actually agree.
Meanwhile,
I think you should do a Netflix thing. Like Netflix is like
meanwhile, a show like Westworld is only 10 episodes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah. Yeah, like 10 episodes
is the perfect arc. And I think in Big Hero 6 was 10 episodes at 30 minutes, and it was, I think, got that more depth. I think it would be better. But for me, it just seems like that typical cartoon show right now. And the material that they built in the movie deserves 10 times more. I'm done. My throat hurts. I need water, and I'm done from there.
Anything else you want to add, Elimarie, or are we done?
Well, this is technically geared towards kids. So that's why the show is so short and there's so many episodes, because it's kind of like
movie,
also to entertain
I don't think
them.
it was geared towards kids. I think it was geared towards everyone.
Okay. But basically, I believe that the series, there's something that they're building up with. I think there's a huge potential, and I have a feeling that this is going to be something interesting. And I do think that they could go a darker route, but you know, this is also a pro and a con, the fact that we don't really know what's going to happen. So I'm just going to choose the pro side to it, that I believe that they are going to build it up to something, and it's going to be great.
And I hope to God they do. I really hope this show turns out amazing. Like, I'm honestly saying, because I do enjoy it. It's just I get adventure out of it. I don't get depth. Incredibles gives me everything I've wanted and a little bit more.
But not that much depth. Just saying, when it comes to side characters.
Well,
the side characters, but the side characters they're in there. You get depth to Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, a little bit more to Dash, a little bit more to Violet. I mean, Violet's embarrassment at the restaurant when the water spits out of her nose. Everyone's been through that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think it is officially time that we cool everybody down before Zach officially passes out because he's like.
Elimarie and me are still friends, though. Elimarie and me are still friends.
I'm going to say this was definitely fantastic, but the winner in this whole thing, it's going to Zach and the Incredibles. And Elimarie, you should have done. I told you, I knew that this was going to happen. You left out two crucial things that could have made you win this battle in the third round. You should have talked about Carmy.
Oh,
Carmy is sort of an antagonist in the real world, and she sort of is so interesting because she hates Hero with a passion,
but yet she
loves his superhero character. And
I think it's kind of like a syndrome thing, actually. She's kind of like Syndrome in a way.
And two, you could have gone in so many different directions with Professor Granville.
I wanted to mention her, but instead I went to
great character.
I wanted to mention her because she is great. She kind of reminds me a little bit like Snape in a way. Like, she looks like she hates Hero, but it's because she sees so much potential in him. I know.
Exactly. She's being the strong taskmaster that gives us so many dimensions of Hero. And I mean, like, you could have easily mentioned that we do see even Yama getting a bigger storyline in the film. You could have mentioned the fact that even Mochi got his own episode. Oh, Elimarie, I'm sorry. There was I was seriously waiting. I was like, oh my God, Elimarie, you gotta take this. But Zach just took it. He took it.
We're at the rematch. We need a rematch. I think we need a.
Listen, at the end of the day, it was a wonderful episode, you guys. You made my 10th episode of Versus so much more than I thought it was going to be. And you guys, we have to do more shows like this. Whether it's an episode of Versus, we have to do
Disneyland versus
live
Disney
show.
World. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, I will do that. I will do Disneyland versus Disney World.
I actually, believe it or not, I actually have this in the works next year. But I have DuckTales 80s versus DuckTales Now that I'd like to do, and I even have Disney Canon versus Pixar.
I do the Pixar.
If you guys want to come back for that, I'll give it to you.
I'll do that.
Wow.
We would probably have to make that a 4-hour episode, though, because there was.
Yeah, it should just be a marathon, just a marathon, honestly, like a live stream marathon.
Well, anyway, guys, this was unreal for oh my God, I am so proud of both of you. You did amazingly, so well, so many great debates. Everybody who has watched today, I really hope you took some time out of your day to watch this because these two were on frickin' fire. I was literally, while you guys were talking, quoting Cuphead lines in my Twitter feed, basically saying, you guys have to come watch it. Like, I was literally saying, this bout will get red hot. A great slam and then some. Like, this is how amazing and intense this was. But Zach, Elimarie, thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank you for setting this up.
Thanks, man. This is awesome.
If you guys want to share this, I will put this onto Google Shared, and you both can have this on your channels if you want. But in the meantime, everybody, thank you all for watching. This was unbelievable. I am Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome, saying I will see you in the next one because thank God I survived this. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.